I've been eating at this restaurant for months, but I never knew my birth mom was my waitress. She had me when she was 14, and I, 24M, was given up for adoption. My parents told me about her growing up. I still have the letter she wrote me that she asked if they could give it to me if they wanted. It's crazy reading it sometimes and knowing it was a literal child who wrote it saying she's sorry she couldn't be my mommy, but she hopes I'm happy. She was open to having contact, but we moved for my dad's job when I was 11, and then it seemed impossible to find her. But luckily I did. She's working at this small restaurant, and I keep going, but she doesn't know it's me. We talk sometimes, and she seems like a nice lady. Sometime when she says something like, "Do you want a refill, honey?" or uses another term like that, I want to tell her. I don't know why it makes me nervous. We talk sometimes, and she seems really genuine. If it's not super busy, she's more open to talking about random stuff. I literally drive 2 hours to come eat at this place just to see her, and it's like she knows me already because I'm there once or two times a week for the past 3 months. So she always says hi with a big smile. But man, if only she knew. Update 1. Well, I did it, I told her. And yeah, it was pretty heavy. My heart was even beating fast. I kept trying to think how to tell her. Many of the comments on my last post here mentioned writing her a letter, just how she wrote a letter for me. Originally, that was the plan, but for me, it felt like I needed to say it. Oh, really quick, I want to say thanks to everyone for their love and support. Mostly to all the birth parents out there who shared their stories with me. That's what really helped push me to have the courage to confront her. It meant so much so, thanks. Everything happened day before yesterday. I did wait for her to be done with her shift, and that was when they were closing the restaurant already, and waited in the parking lot. We said hi when she saw me first, but then I told her there was something serious that she needed to know. First told her sorry for keeping it from her this long. She didn't react until I actually pulled out her letter, and she started bawling from there, like screaming and crying at the same time, and didn't even have to finish the whole "I'm your son" speech. She just saw it and knew. It was crazy. Next thing I know, she's hugging me instantly, but then she pulled back and asked if it's okay to hug me. Of course it is, and we're just there hugging and crying in the parking lot. It hit her hard, though. Her legs gave out for a second, so I had to actually hold her up while she's still hugging me for a min. What really got me was her saying to me, "Look how big you got." Also, hearing her cry made me cry too. She went back to open the restaurant up. She wouldn't take no for an answer. We had coffee, ate a slice of their pie inside, and talked. So many stuffs we talked about. She told me the second time I came to the restaurant, she got a feeling, but for her, it was hard to believe it was me. So that feeling she had was pushed way down. Because she told me for years after I was adopted, she saw kids that would be my age and used to think they were me. Then she would be crying in public. It fucked with her mind a lot and made her depressed. So she didn't want to do the same when she saw me, getting her hopes up like that. She says I look so much like my biological dad when he was younger, though. We talked about him too. They stayed in contact with each other in case I ever reached out to one of them, so it would be easier to contact the other. I didn't have hope about finding my biological dad since he was never mentioned, so I'm glad they both planned for this future scenario. She told me about how they wanted to keep me, especially my biological dad. He didn't want me to be adopted, but he knew they had to because they were just kids. It took him a long time to get past it after I was born, she told me. That's why he didn't leave anything, because he didn't want to believe he might not see me again. We talked for hours, till almost 2 in the morning. They closed at 11. She just wanted to know everything about me, but her main thing was, am I happy? Were my parents good to me? Did I have a happy childhood? And I did. I told her thank you for helping to give me this life. We both cried again. She cried the most. Everything was very emotional for her. Sometimes she would look really happy, but then get sad again. After my 18th birthday, she was hoping I would find her. That's why she stayed in the same city. But since I didn't, she always thought maybe I resented her, wasn't told I'm adopted, or maybe had decided it was better not to have her around. It made me feel bad for not telling her sooner. She told me it's not my fault and I did right going at my own pace. Honestly, she's so sweet. The way she kept looking at me with the biggest smile, it made me emotional sometimes. Makes you think, how can someone who's been a total stranger your whole life looks at you with so much love? It's wild. We learned so much about each other. She asked me if we could have dinner soon to keep talking, and if at some point in the future, if I'm interested, come over to her house so I can meet her husband. That all sounded really great. We exchanged numbers. After I left, she sent a text telling me thank you for giving her this gift, that she didn't know if it would ever come. My girlfriend came over and she hugged me while I cried. I wasn't sad, BTW, these were happy tears. Everything went better than I expected. There was still emotionally heavy stuff, but I'm still glad that we got to open up to each other. Update 2. Met my biological dad for the first time ever, and I'm very happy about it. Lots of you asked to let you know how it goes. Meeting my biological dad, and to say it was emotional is an understatement. I've been feeling so many things since this all happened. We met a few days ago, was originally supposed to be almost 2 weeks ago, but shit kept coming up. Work, and then I got sick. Not COVID, for days. But we made it happen. TBH, this was more nervous for me because I didn't know anything about him. With my biomom, it was different because I watched her from far and got to know her a little before it came out. I asked my biomom if she could be there too, just because she knows him better, so it was the two of us waiting for him at this park. He was already crying before we even got to him. This guy is strong too, so he pulled me in for the biggest bear hug and crying. He told me he wants me to know that they love me so much and he loves me. I lost count how many times he'd come back in for one more hug. This definitely got to him, and he kept saying thank you God a few times. Looking at my face, the feelings, man, the feelings. We had so many of them. Hearing him tell me how much they love me even back then, it meant so much for me to hear that, and NGL that had me holding him tight too. I'm sure to everyone at the park it was weird seeing 3 crying people LOL. My bio dad said he cried so many times just driving over here, he didn't think he had any more tears until he saw us. When we were all sitting down, it hit me that my bio mom was not lying when she said we look alike. Obviously he's older, but still holy shit the similarities. He brought gifts too, which was a surprise. It was really nice he told me I don't have to keep them if I don't want it, but he felt weird not coming with anything, and he's wanted to give this to me for a long time. One was a teddy bear holding a picture frame of him at the hospital holding me. He was 15 years old. It's still crazy to realize that. And then the other thing was a journal. The journal thing was stuff he said he started writing to me years after I was adopted. He was in therapy, and that helped him to cope, thinking he would give them to me one day. His way of still feeling connected to me. I haven't read everything yet, but some of the pages were his thoughts, and like if he's talking to me, how he felt when they found out she was pregnant, then the adoption, everything going on in his mind when he first got to hold me as a baby. I didn't even know he was at the hospital too. It was not what I was expecting. It really got me. I read some more of what he wrote last night that really got me crying. I'm sad to think how much this affected them emotionally for years. Also think it's pretty sweet he wanted to write this for me. We talked about his own life, which was pretty hard. His struggles with home life and the feelings he had about giving me up. Then he wanted to know everything about me. Basically, with the same questions my bio mom had. I made sure they knew they made the right decision, because my life was pretty great. He looked like he wanted to cry when he knew that because that's all they hoped for, and it was something he always wondered about for years. My bio mom left a bit after we were more comfortable so we could talk more in private once it didn't feel too awkward between us. From there, he told me stories about how he met my bio mom. Sometimes he'd point out stuff he notices about me that reminds him of her or me, and him having similar likes. Example, I love eating mangoes. I can eat them all day, and that's what I bought when we bought snacks at the park. He told me my bio mom was obsessed with mangoes 7 before she got pregnant. While pregnant, she craved it even more. Just cool info to know even if it's random stuff LOL. It's still stuff we have in common and we both have lots. Both like hiking, playing pool. He was a swimmer in college and I was on a swim team in high school. Both love rock music, especially 90s. My bio dad was really open about sharing everything, like he really was getting ready for this meeting. He hoped it would happen and he prayed every day to see me again because he had so many things he wanted to tell me. Overall, really good first meeting. I'm glad how it went. He's open to the idea of meeting my parents. After I told them about all this because they definitely want to meet my bio parents again if I'm comfortable with that. Obviously, if my bio parents are too. Let's see when that happens. IDK how it's going to feel for me. They've met each other before I was even born, but I never had them at the same place, so that'll be interesting, LOL. Me and my parents met up yesterday to have breakfast so I could tell them everything. My mom was so happy how it went. She actually cried too when I was telling them about both their reactions. My dad was proud because he knew how hard it was the months after finding my bio mom and not really wanting to make contact yet. I'm really happy to have their support because it's hard not to feel guilty about wanting to know more my bio parents. They gave me a really good life, so for a while it's felt like maybe to them I'm showing them that wasn't good enough for me and I'd rather have my bio parents. But they told me many times they want me to do this for me and to know how much I love them. And I really do. Finding them and meeting them was hard, but it was so worth it to me. And seeing their reactions made it feel even more worth it. Still can't believe it sometimes. I'm just realizing this has turned into a long post. My bad, haha. Writing this has been therapeutic TBH. Kind of thinking back to everything that's happened, feeling really grateful. Again, want to say thank you to everyone who has been on this journey with me. Everyone who sent me their own stories, their love, their encouragement. You guys have beautiful hearts, and I'm happy I had somewhere to talk about all this and receive so much love back. Just want to say to all the adopted kids out there, I wish you guys luck and that you find what you're looking for. It's not easy at all. I feel fortunate that things didn't go badly or that my bio parents aren't bad people. And to all the birth parents out there who made the sacrifice, thank you. It's because of you there are kids out there like me who got to have a great life with loving parents. Story 2. Ada for telling my stepdaughter to go ask her real dad when she asked me to pay for her plane tickets. I married my wife Elise 12 years ago. She has a 16-year-old daughter, Anna, from her previous relationship, and we have a 7-year-old son as well. From pretty much the beginning of our relationship, Anna and I have never gotten along. I don't know how to emphasize that it is not because of a lack of trying. She just does not like me. When she was young, she was just scared of me and afraid I'd tear their family apart. Nowadays, it's more of a neutral dislike rather than strong antipathy, so I suppose that's progress. Elise is a stay-at-home mother, so she relies on me for income. As a result, I pay for everything for Anna: food, clothes, volleyball fees, field trips. I take an interest in her hobbies. I go to her games. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I try my damn hardest to be the stepfather I can. But it's so hard. Always giving me curt, one-word responses. Always having to have an attitude. She does things to get a rise out of me. Staying out late reeking of booze. Always trying to sneak boys in. Typical rebellious stuff. But I always let her know I love her, and I'm there for her in hopes of her shithead teenager phase pass. The opposite is true for her biological father. She adores him. Can't tell you why. He never goes to her games, always makes excuses for why he doesn't want to see her. He forgot her birthday last month and she cried herself to sleep. Well, anyways, Friday, I came to her room to check her phone and read her messages. Not a permanent thing, but she's been caught sneaking out twice in the last month, so this is her punishment. I ask for the phone. She says, "No, I'm tired of you checking my shit. Leave me alone." I tell her I'm not asking again, and she goes, "Just fuck off already. You're not my real dad. You never have been. Stop acting like you can tell me what to do," before getting up and slamming the door. Like I said, guys, I'm tired. Tired of the blatant disrespect, of being the verbal punching bag while still providing more for her than anyone else in her family. We haven't really talked since until this morning during breakfast. She asked if I could pay for her plane tickets so she could see her boyfriend cross state. Like I said, her mom doesn't work, and her dad is a POS, so I normally would be the one to cough up the money. Not this time. I responded, "Go ask your real dad." I could tell she was hurt. Tears swelled up from her face and she excused herself from the table. My wife took me aside later and said my comment was extremely disrespectful. I said if anything's disrespectful, it's her treating me like a doormat and a credit card, and I will no longer tolerate this treatment in my house. I told her we don't have to be friends, but if she can't at least be cordial to me or respect my position as an authority figure, she can find someone else to pay for her non-essentials. Aitareddit. Just adding a TLDR at the request of a comment. My stepdaughter continuously disrespects me and my authority. She told me that I'm not her real dad. Later on, she asked me to buy her tickets and I told her to go ask her real dad. Aida, and to add more context, my wife is a saint. She does stick up for me when Anna says something rude or snarky. She just said stooping to her level was inappropriate. But she's a wonderful mom and tries her best. Some relevant comments from OP in response to someone asking about therapy. We've been in therapy for years, but Anna stopped going when she was 12. We tried forcing her to go, but she would just stonewall the therapist, so we gave up. My wife and I still go, as a couple and individually, in response to someone criticizing OP and his wife for going through Anna's phone. We only did it as punishment. She snuck out twice. The first time we said, "If you keep doing this type of behavior, we'll take your phone and make sure you won't again." After a week, we resolved to just read through her phone every now and again, rather than take it indefinitely. Thank you for your judgment. In response to commenters wondering where OP's wife has been during this, I feel like the way I wrote the post made Elise seem like a terrible mother. She's absolutely not. She's tried to get Anna to like me, but pretty much from the start, she just does not. When she hears Anna disrespect me, she calls her out on it. She's a great parent in all other regards. It's just dealing with her daughter that becomes cumbersome after a while. She didn't know about the "not your father" comment until after she confronted me. In response to someone asking what Anna's been told about her biological father. We both have taken her to therapy when she was younger, and it's looking like it might be on our agenda again. She defends me when Anna talks rude or disrespectful, to the point Anna only says snarky comments when Elise isn't around. She does not talk bad about her father, and I wouldn't want her to, regardless of my negative feelings towards him. Parental alienation is a real thing, And I rather her comes to terms with his bad parenting herself, as she grows up rather than any of us tell her. She's a smart girl. She'll figure it out. In response to an info request about how OP and his wife met, and how Anna's parents broke up, I met Elise when she was still married. They were having problems because her husband, let's call him Shithead, was never home for their toddler, and didn't work to provide for them, so she was staying with her mom. I would give her platonic advice, and she's come to me when Shithead would verbally berate her. I told her he will probably do the same to her daughter. She realized I was right. A few months later, they divorced. We started dating a few months after that. She introduced me to her daughter maybe 6 or 7 months into dating. They moved into my place a few months after that, and a year later we married. Update. Hey guys, it's been a good 2 weeks since I've posted, and I figured you guys would like an update. A lot has happened since the last time I posted. So that night I did what many of the comments suggested I do, which was to apologize. I told her that I'm sorry, that implying that I'm not her real father, but like it or not that I consider her my daughter, that I loved her and will always be there for her. She started to cry and sob uncontrollably and said, "Why doesn't he, her biological father, love me?" I held her and told her she didn't need to fight for his approval. I also apologized for looking through her phone, that I've come to accept that it's not an appropriate punishment for a teenage girl, and I was going to find other alternatives. Lastly, I brought up therapy. And while she was hesitant at first, I let her know it was nothing to be ashamed of, that everything she said at therapy would be entirely confidential, and that it could help to have a confidant to help her sort through her feelings. She sat on this for the day, but the next day let me know that she was ready. So I set up the soonest appointment, which was last Friday, and her second appointment this afternoon. It's only been a week, so I don't want to get too optimistic, but honestly, I feel like I'm noticing an improvement already. She's actually been engaging back in small talk when normally she wouldn't give me the time of day. She's been following all of the rules, coming home at a reasonable hour. She's been less withdrawn and more social, even to the point where her brother commented on the change today. But the most exciting news of them all is when getting out the car on her way home from therapy, she said, and I quote, "Thanks, Dad." She's never called me Dad before, so honestly, I've been riding off that high for the last 2 hours. I'm not delusional enough to think everything's peachy, but honestly, the behavior change in the last week was the most progress we've had since, well, ever. I'm cautiously optimistic going forward. Thanks again, everyone, for your comments, especially the ones who gave me the kick in the ass I needed. Edit. In the comments on the update, OOP specifically referenced a comment on the first post that opened his eyes and made him see things differently. The comment is from a now-deleted account, and I wasn't sure how to find it, but thanks to you, Arania, tracking it down, I can add it here. You know, it was not so bad that you did that. It is an important lesson for her to learn that you, as a human being, also have feelings and she hurt them. That's an important lesson. She should not be able to talk to you like that, set the parameters of her relationship with you, and expect you to have no boundaries. I know you are more her father than her sperm donor. You know that. She also knows that. She's acting out because her own father hurts her. So, she's hurting you, because she knows you will take it and not abandon her. It's messed up, but she really does not know what to do with that pain. You just taught her that this is the wrong thing to do with her pain. That's not a bad thing. You had a very human reaction in the heat of the moment. Apologizing to her teaches another invaluable lesson. NTA. You're a really good father. I am betting she'll realize what she had in you someday, probably around age 25. OP's comment on the update post referencing this comment. Just went back to the old post. Your comment was actually the one that convinced me that even if I was right doesn't mean I shouldn't be the adult in the room and apologize. Thank you for your comment.